Okay, good, good. All right, you guys. We have Mike C-Roc. He's a futurist, a serial entrepreneur, and a luminary in the world of business. You're the founder of That1 Brand and Agency. We're going to get into that in a little bit. I want to know, it's a marketing agency, right? And branding and all of that, social media stuff.
Yes, podcast marketing agency. Yep.
You're also the writer of this book, brilliant freaking book. Rocket Fuel, Convert Setbacks, Become Unstoppable. It's a must-have. And we met at the RISCON conference, right? Like, that's where we met. RISCON and last November.
Yeah, this past fall we met. Yep. Shout out to Todd Alt.
I can say, like, what I can say, because you were one of the dynamic public speakers there. I know you're also a performance coach and a thought leader. You're impressive. I'm assuming you're coming back to the next conference, because there's gonna be another.
Yeah, we just had a call the other day, so I will be there. Yep, I'll be there. I just had a call with Todd and his team last week, so
I will be seeing you this year again. And then you have the podcast. What are you made of? Oh, I love the title. I love the podcast. I want to know about that as well. And so you're one of those people. I know you were featured on, I think it was Yahoo Finance as one of the top business leaders to follow in 2020. Am I correct? That, because you're on a mission to build unstoppable people.
Yep, that's right.
So, yeah. How do you build these people? That's one of your things. You build unstoppable people.
Really, it comes down to helping people realize that they're unstoppable to living the life of their dreams. So realization and really helping people identify who they are and what they're actually capable of is what that's centered around.
So how do you find these people?
Well, I mean, it's everybody. It's not just these people. It's like everybody out there. Really, like, the people I want to work with are the ones that know they have more inside of them, and they're looking for that, and they don't know where to find it, or they don't know the methods, they don't know where to start. And I just get a hold of them. And really, it starts through social media. I just put out a lot of content so that they can see it, they can find me, and they can start engaging with my content first. And then they say, you know what, I want some of what that guy's got.
Nice. And how do you help, let's talk about overcoming public speaking anxiety for like major keynote presentation. How do you help somebody that has this massive anxiety?
Yeah. So what that comes down to really is two things. And once people identify these two things and address these two things, the anxiety seems to go away. The excitement should be still there. The nerves should still be there. But number one is being prepared. Preparation is key. And then number two is making it about the people you're speaking to, not about yourself. So when you go to a speaking event and you're going to be speaking on stage, whether it's, physical stage or a podcast, you need to realize that it's not about you. You got to make it about the people and the impact that you're going to make. And when you do that, it switches things up and you're like, wow, okay, it's not about me. I know the eyes are on me. I know people are going to be thinking about me and having judgments and all that, but you got to put all that to the side, not worry about what people think, and go and impact people. Be focused on the impact that you're going to make.
But that's hard though. Like, if you think about it, like, they're all looking at you. You can't, don't you get like in your head thinking, oh my gosh, they're staring. What if I'm sweating? What if I'm this? And it's just, I mean, how do you overcome that though? Well,
so you just used a word. It's hard, right? So you just establish what it's going to be for you. So our language matters. And so I come to realize, like, what I say matters, what I think matters, what I say matters, what I do matters. So I got to start speaking the way I want it to turn out. This is part of being a futurist, right? Causing and creating futures for yourself and others starts with your thoughts, your words, your actions, and the people that you surround yourself with. So we got to be really hypersensitive and aware of our words, because our words dictate what we're going to see in the future. So if you say it's hard, it's going to be hard. And you're going to experience all the essence of hardness, or I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but you're going to experience hard. And, to me, like, I don't want to say that. I do a lot of self-talk. I say, I'm built for this. I got this. This is what I'm made of. Like, this is going to be a piece of cake. And then I experience that, because what happens is that's set an intention. Your words set your intention, and your intention leads and directs your attention. So when you start directing your attention, you start paying attention to the things that validate your intention, your commitment. So if I say it's going to be easy, my intention starts to go to, okay, let me see all the avenues of this being easy. And then I cause and create that result. So that's what it's all about. So I work with people on that.
That's amazing. Yeah. And what about like, have you ever had like one of those moments when you almost gave up? Like, what kept you going? Like, how did you get out of that?
Yeah, there's been a lot of moments, but there's a saying that I say to myself all the time. It's keep going. So if I wake up in the morning and I'm dealing with some stuff and I'm like, oh man, like I don't feel like going through this day. I don't feel like dealing with this stuff. I remind myself that if I keep going, it all works out for me. So you just got to keep going. And, you know, there's a saying that Winston Churchill said, if you're walking through hell, keep going. And or going through hell, keep going. So I remember that. But also, I don't think about just keeping going. I think about going fast. Let me get through this. Right. And I wrote the book Rocket Fuel, as you mentioned earlier on. So I created something else. I'm like, thrust is a must. I got to thrust through it. I got to go through it. Thrust is a must. And so that's what I just remind myself of that. And I always just know that when you're in the midst of an adversity, there's very little, if any, light at the end of the tunnel. So I know that. I'm aware of that. So now then I need to know, well, as long as I keep going, the light starts to appear. So I just keep going. That's the key. I really try to keep things simple, Kat. I don't try to overcomplicate things. All the thoughts that you have during that moment are trying to stop you, slow you down, because you're storing all that stuff in your trunk. I like to store stuff in my fuel tank and convert that energy into fuel, rocket fuel, and keep going and use it to thrust through those tough times.
And I know that a lot of that advice is in the book, but and people can actually find a lot of useful, really motivating stuff in this book. But definitely, I want to have that reel where it emphasizes on how amazing and how great this book is. What about, is there something you want to share, something that you would like to share about you that most people wouldn't guess, wouldn't know?
Yeah, I mean, I came from a lot of brokenness. You know, I was around a lot of drugs, alcoholism, anxiety, depression, suicide growing up, a lot of conflict. I don't remember my parents ever together. I dealt with every other weekend thing, the child support custody battles, parents going at it, then step parents getting involved and adding that mix into it. Families fighting, conflict. You know, I was watching somebody have an argument on television on one of those shows, those reality shows. And my wife and I were sitting there talking, and I'm like, oh, this is nothing compared to what I've seen growing up. Dang. You know, I've seen violence, I've seen like threats. I've seen it all. And, you know, so a lot of people wouldn't realize that unless they read the book or heard me talk before, but I've seen brokenness and true brokenness. And so, you know, I've used all that in my life to overcome things that I've come across as I gotten older. And then that's what I wrote the book about, because if you really understand that everything is energy and that we've actually been created by an all-powerful God to be able to convert and cause and create our futures. And you do that through the energy that's around you and the energy that you experience. And it's your choice. But if you don't choose to proactively convert that energy, all of it gets stored in your trunk. And if you can imagine a car with a trunk loaded up with heavy, dark material, that car is not going to go very fast. It's going to be slowed down and may even stop. And so I just choose not to do that. So that's my my method, so to speak.
Wow, now it explains like how you have so much wisdom, first of all, and a lot of that just, you have that grit, you have you're very motivated. So it's that strength. It explains where that's coming from. That's amazing. I actually never pictured that.
Kat,
Yeah.
Kat, well, yeah, let me just say this. So I don't look at myself as very motivated and full of grit. I look at myself as obligated, because, you know, when I realized like how we were created as human beings and spiritual beings, I realized the power that was behind that, the intricacies, the elaborateness of it. And I don't want to take that for granted. So when I wake up in the morning, I feel obligated to use everything that I've been given. I'm very grateful for every blessing that I've ever had, everything, my health, everything. Right. And so to me, it's not about motivation. It's not about grit. It's about obligation. And I take that very seriously.
So that means, what are you made of? It's basically, what would you say the answer to that is, to your own question?
Well, I'm made of rocket fuel. I mean, I'm made of energy that I control and convert. And so, the what are you made of thing came from me thinking to myself all the time, like when I go through tough times, look, man, what are you made of? Look at all the things you've came through. Look at how you've overcome and then caused and created everything in your future. And then, so that what are you made of thing is this thing I say to myself. So I started the show with that title because of that. And then, from there, I always say to myself, let me see how far I can take this thing. Like with what I've been given, I want to go out and cause and create and see how far can we take this? Like, let's play a game. Let's see the extent of the abilities that I've been given. And then also to relay that to other people, because I think by yourself, you can only go so far. But when you start taking everything you've been given and then start helping other people realize everything they've been given and the true obligation that we all have to really see how far we can all take this thing. And that's important to me. So yeah, that's where that came from.
That's amazing. And it's, I've seen some of the episodes and I was like, man, they're, useful stuff. It's not, a lot of the podcasts out there is like, okay, but it's very informative. It's really good. It's a great podcast. How do people get on your podcast? Is there like a qualification or a fee? What is the...
Well, it started out with people that I wanted to interview and learn from. And that was solely based on that. And then from there, we, really switched focus on, finding impact-driven podcast hosts that we could collaborate with. So I really, my team reaches out to top podcasts, people that are making an impact. And then we use the show to get them exposure, but also build relationship with them and then share our network with them. So we're really hyper-focused on, that audience, not that audience, but that kind of guest. And then we use that to build our business, That1, which That1 is a company that helps people become that one in their industry, which is finding out who you are, identifying who you are, all the quirks, all the uniqueness, all the weaknesses and strengths, and then taking all of that and leaning into it unapologetically and becoming that one in your industry. So that's what the podcast is doing now. It's really feeding that company and that mission.
Oh, so they kind of collide. They kind of go hand in hand. Nice. So
yeah, everything I do, Kat, I'm hyper intentional. I'm hyper intentional about, again, causing and creating what I want. So everything I think about, I say, I do, the people I'm around, all align with that mission, and that's important to me. I don't want any currents trying to take me off of the mission. So I'm very hyper intentional with what we do and what we spend our time on.
Which I'm flattered for you to spend time with me today. So thank you for that. That means a lot. Yeah. How do you, before a podcast, where do you get your inspiration from? Like, how do you are you just kind of like a Joe Rogan type that just comes with just thin air type of questions, or do you do your preparation before? What is your technique with the podcast?
Well, I start off with the question, what are you made of? Because that kicks off a conversation. And I like to hear people's thoughts on, what they think they're made of. And then I like to really dive into the genuine, authentic, vulnerable side. And I challenge my guests to really push their comfortability level in sharing things they've never shared with people before and how they've overcome those so that they can inspire the listener that may be going through that same thing right now. Maybe they've been through it, or in the future, they're going to go through it. And I just want people to know that they're not alone when they're going through those difficult times, and don't quit, just keep going. And so that's how we use the message of the show.
Nice. And you just mentioned difficult times. What would you consider a difficult time?
Yeah, I think a difficult time is really defined by a time of hopelessness, darkness, heaviness, thinking that there's no way out and whatever you're going through is permanent. which it's really not, unless you're plucked from this planet. Once you're plucked from the planet, yeah, you can say that, that's permanent. But at the end of the day, while you're not, while you're still here, it still matters to keep going and figure out, okay, how can I get through this? How can I learn from this? How can I become better from this, stronger from this? And asking yourself those kind of questions. So the difficult times for me, I mean, I've been through several, I've been through personal, family ones, friend relationship, difficult times, business, difficult times, people, taking money that wasn't theirs, upwards to around $1 million, being around the wrong people by my choosing, and then realizing that they're not the right people for my environment. And yeah, I mean, I've been through several, but that's really the essence of it.
That's you've also been through some. What would you consider some things that if you could fix something in the world right now, what would you fix?
Well, I don't see a lot of love in the world. I don't see a lot of talk about love in the media and politics and business and in general conversations. And people, run from that. I had a conversation today with a guy and he's like, you know what? People will hate for no reason, but they won't love for no reason.
So true.
So, and every time somebody starts to talk about love, they get shut down. And there's a lot of evil in the world that wants to shut down love. And I start to think to myself, Kat, what is so powerful that people are afraid of to allow people to think that, and to speak and, more about love? If you think about it, when people love each other unconditionally, they get through anything. And that's not just one individual. That could be two people, a family. It could be a company. It could be a nation, or it can be the world. But most people don't talk about that. It gets shut down. And I think we need more of that. That's the problem that I see, is that we need more love. We need to spread more love. We need to spread more compassion and understanding, and understand that everybody has their different perspective, which creates their reality, and appreciate people's perspectives and where they came from. And then have deep conversations without hating someone because they think differently than you.
Yeah, but how do you do that? Because if you think about it, you have so much division, especially in this country right now. You can't really, everybody's so brainwashed in either left or right, or there's very little shade of gray in there. And how can you even get this country united again? How can you? It's really difficult.
Again, you just said it's really difficult. I just want to point that out.
It's not impossible.
So, it doesn't have to be, right? It doesn't have to be. The key here is that we all need to start with ourselves and look inward and say, you know what? I need to be a shining example of what I would love to see in the world. And then be that example. Go out to the world, in your household, out in the world, in your communities, in your businesses, and start being an example of what you want to see in other people. Not expect something from other people that you're not focused on yourself. So if everybody would start focusing on themselves, making themselves better, building themselves into a being that cares and loves and is compassionate, then we would start seeing more of that in the world. But we're not going to see that until people start taking responsibility and working on themselves first and being that person that they want to see in the world.
Yeah, I feel like they're just taking the whole focusing on ourselves, the whole self-love, the wrong way, because they might focus a little bit too closely on themselves and not enough on the other people's needs, and maybe having more empathy, maybe having a little more compassion. So I feel like those things are being neglected, because if I were to say, okay, this poor person just doesn't know any better, this is their lifestyle, I have to be a little more sympathetic, or then things would change. So yeah, we could potentially go on for hours on how to change this and and the amount of work that would be needed and to improve this world. But that's a good one. I like the answer. Love. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, Kat, if we think that it's impossible, it's going to be impossible, right?
True.
If we think it's going to be difficult, it's going to be difficult. So we have to shift our frame of mind and start thinking that, this isn't impossible. But by the way, if you notice, the people that started to speak up about this and started getting some momentum with love and compassion and understanding, they get shot down. A lot of them have gotten killed, assassinated, canceled, right? And so, you know, and then people see that and they're like, well, that's not going to be me. But you don't need to go out and preach it, okay? You need to be an example of it. It's a difference. If you're just talking it all the time, people tune it out eventually. But if you start living it, truly living it, and living in a frequency of love and compassion, it'll make a difference. And then some people hear that and they're like, well, yeah, okay, that's a great fantasy world. But I'm a believer that we can live in that kind of world. And I'm just going to cause and create that for myself in my environment. And then anybody that comes in contact with me is going to feel that.
Yeah, I'm feeling something here. It's the world. Yeah, it's a very good vibe, very good positive energy here. Yeah, I like that. Do you actually you believe in God? You mentioned God a few times.
Absolutely. You know, God's been like everything for me. I can't deny that. It's been everything for me. You know, my mom at a young age told me about God and Jesus. And I mean, I have no other option in my life because I've seen too much. I've seen what faith does. I've seen what, you know, what God's done in my life and what he's done for others. And I can't hide from that. And I can't be quiet about that. And I can't apologize for that. So 100%.
That's amazing. That is amazing. I'm going to say some random words and I want you to tell me the first thing that comes into your mind. So let's say innovation.
Innovation. Oh man, first thing that comes to mind with innovation is impact.
Setback.
Fuel. I would say helping people get more towards their actual potential.
Public speaking.
Piece of cake.
That's nice. That might be something for someone who's going to get your courses or who's going to pay for you to teach them to make it a piece of cake. Not for everyone. But space travel.
Space travel. Let me think about that. Space travel. I think space travel to me brings up thoughts of opportunity.
Ocean exploration.
Oh man. Ocean exploration. I think that's where we should start. I think ocean exploration there's more to be found there. And it's a quicker find than space travel or space exploration.
Really interesting. How come? Why do you think so?
Well, I mean, I think there's species of a fish that we have no idea, and we're finding new species every day, right? And some of the ocean is not accessible to us yet. So why don't we, you know, dive into that? No pun intended. Dive into that,
Right.
and really use all our resources for that before we go out and look in other places. I mean, we haven't even, you know, I don't even know what the percentage is, but we haven't even really touched the surface of what's available in the ocean yet.
True share. Time machine. Did I say that already?
No, you didn't say time machine, but time machine, I think for me, thinking about a time machine is like not even needed because we can actually change history by the perception that we take on it. So like anything that's happened in your life, you can go back and change the meaning of it anytime you want to based on a decision. So I would say unneeded.
Unneeded. Wow. What about leadership?
That's an easy one. Leadership starts with me. Starts with each individual.
It's a good answer. Resilience.
Resilience, I would say, is required. And I think that it's a universal possession of everyone.
Pandemic.
Scam.
Yeah, the year 2040.
2040. What is that? That's about 16 years from now. And I'll be what, 57 plus? I'll be in my 60s.
Yeah.
2040.
Really? Dang.
I think 2040 is going to be an amazing time.
Really?
Yeah, that'll be an amazing time in my life. That's what I'll say.
Amazing time in my life. The one.
I think it's better that one.
That one. Oh yeah. You're... And tell me about that one. What exactly, like, what are they getting if they sign up?
Well, let me tell you where that one came from. So I was in the podcast space, right? Podcasting, guesting, and all that. I've been on over 1,000 shows as a guest in the last 5 years. I've done about 700 of my own show. And I was thinking about creating a magazine called The Guest Magazine, or I was trying to figure out a good name, right? And I'm like, wait a minute, that one guest. Because when we talk about something, if we're talking about a movie and we're talking about an actor, an actress, talking about a sports player, we're always like, what's that one? What's that one? Or that one.
Yes.
And so I started thinking to myself, man, that one, that's pretty cool. Like I always want to be that one.
Right.
And people should be that one that, when they realize like who they are, they find out who they are, they really do a self-assessment and realize their non-negotiables, their standards that they're going to keep, their core values,
right.
the people that they want to be around. Like then when they start to realize that, they need to lean into it unapologetically and become that one in their space, that one in their industry. And so I said, you know what, let me name my company That One. And then we want to help people become that one in their industry through guesting on podcasts and getting the most out of it and doing it the right way. Leveraging the show host relationship, leveraging the audience, leveraging the content, leveraging the experience. And that really defines them and helps them become that one in their industry. And so that's why we decided to start the company and help people through podcast guesting and then connect them with the right shows intentionally. So our clients come to us and we make them guests on shows with warm introductions to over 1,000 shows in different genres and being very hyper intentional with it, but also looking at, okay, there's a podcast opportunity. However, they're also the most important and powerful thing is the relationship and networking that comes with podcast guesting, because the show hosts out there are some of the most connected people on the planet. If you don't realize that and you don't take advantage of that, you're missing out. So that's what, where we all started from this. And we've seen amazing things. The clientele that we get now, we're the agency. That One Agency is the one that's trusted by New York Times bestselling authors, movie producers that have been blockbusters in the box office. You name it, they're coming to us now. And because they want to be that one, even though they've reached certain levels, they feel like they're still not there yet. So we push them over the edge.
That's amazing. That is amazing. And do you use any AI with this? Is there any AI involved in helping them grow?
Yeah, of course. But I'm not going to reveal my secrets. We definitely use AI. We're going to continue to use AI and we're going to continue to integrate AI into our business. But right now, I'm not prepared to share how we're doing that.
It's understandable. Yes. And I don't know, are there like packages? What kind of pricing do we have? Is there a website that they can check this out? How do they, how can they learn more?
Sure. Yeah. If you go to that1agency.com, the number one agency.com, you can check it out. You can book a discovery call with us. It's free. We have packages of 15, 30, and 60 shows, and they're priced accordingly with tons of value added into it. Nice. But if anybody listening wants to get more information, that1agency.com, and then you can book a free discovery call with our team.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. And of course, they can find you on social media anywhere. Mike C-Roc, you're everywhere. I don't know if you have more time for more questions. It's already half an hour. So usually I like to, when I get there, I like to ask, because I don't want to be greedy and I don't want to, you're giving me a finger to take a whole hand. So it's up to you if you want to wrap it up now.
No, you're good. Okay. No, you're good. You're good. If you have more questions, I'm here.
What you got for me? What is some advice on that? Like how can actually,
yeah. So what I've, No, what I was going to say is that, in my life, I've gone through a lot of things and I acted like I was the first one to ever go through it, which cost me a lot of stress, anxiety, time, resources, money. And I started to realize, wait a minute, I can speed up my progress here, save all these things, move faster, go bigger if I get around the people that have already done it. And then if I want to innovate on the way, I can. And when I get past those folks that I'm in proximity to, and I want to innovate from there, I can. But at all times, there's always somebody out there that's done what you're trying to do, unless you're innovating something brand new. And most of us aren't. Most of us aren't innovators. Most of us are just trying to achieve a goal, make more money, provide more impact. And at the end of the day, you can find someone that's already done that to some degree, similar to what you're trying to do. So you might as well go find those people, whether it's read books, study them from afar, be mentored from afar, listen to podcasts, go to events, and then from there progress up with those that you vibe with or you're aligned with, and then go to their events and go deeper with them, or work with someone, pay someone for access to them. I've paid close to $500,000 to be in proximity to people that have done things that I want to do. Now, I don't want to be like them, exactly like them, and imitate them, but I'd like to emulate them. And so that has sped up my process, where to the point, Kat, where I've, over the last 5 years, since I figured that out, I've achieved more than that 5 years than I did the prior 40 years. So it's very important for people to understand that. Like, if you want to be a guest on podcasts, or you want to become that one in your industry, you want to learn to be around those people that have done it and that are doing it, and or helping other people doing it already, so you can just jump on the train, because it makes it a lot faster.
That's so true. And a lot of people are like, well, where do I find these people? Like you just mentioned, or even like freaking go play some golf, go have a cigar somewhere. Just, yeah, you can, or maybe just like you said, podcast, read books, yeah, that is very true.
Yeah. I mean, to all the men out there, that can't catch a bunch of shit for going golfing, you need to tell your ladies, or if you have a partner that's a man, to everybody out there, you got to let them know, look, I'm trying to get in proximity to those that have done it. I'm trying to move faster. I'm trying to be less stressed. I'm trying to learn, and I'm trying to network. And I'm also trying to compete with myself. Like, you mentioned golf. I think this hits home with me because I love golf and I golf a lot. And golf has been a big instrumental part of my success. And besides the proximity and networking, it's been a way to play a game where I challenge myself. I'm always competing with myself. And I think that's very important, because some men, and I'm speaking to men just right now, and I'm sure the ladies fall into this category as well, but for me as a man, speaking from that point of view, a lot of men, when they get out, start to get older, they stop competing. And I don't think that's a good thing for us. I think we should always be figuring out a game to play, whether it's, golf, or whether it's some other hobby, or maybe it's business, or a combination of all of them. But I really think that we need to be competing, and there's no better opportunity than golf to compete with yourself and keep that game going, where you're trying to improve at all times, and you have setbacks. And then, there's a lot of lessons that are taken out there on the golf course.
Yeah. And, it helps physically, like you're also in better shape because you're doing some type of you're walking, or so that. And then nature, that also helps, to fresh air, the oxygen. But how do you what's your morning routine? Let me hear you. What's your day like? What's your routine like?
Well, I mean, let's see. I get up, I pray and meditate in the morning. And then I get up and get my daughter up and running. I get myself together, and then I hit the gym, or I hit the boardwalk out here by the ocean, and I'll jog and walk, or I put a bunch of weight on my back and I walk, 5 miles. And then I come back, and then I get another meal after the first meal I have, which is a protein shake. I get another meal, and then I start my day, start my calls, start my meetings, and start my podcasts. And then it's pretty much the same Monday through Friday. And then Saturday and Sunday, I really like to take time to reflect on the week, assess the week, and of course, spend time with the family and pour into my family and be there for them and do the things that they want to do. And then start again on Monday.
And some type of golf in there somehow to compete.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, golf is worked in there. My daughter's homeschooling right now, and she wants to play golf too. So I get a lot of quality time with my 11-year-old daughter. We go out and hit balls, practice. We'll go on the course and play 9 holes together. And then I get with the fellas at least once a week and play some golf. And we put some money on the line so that there's something that could be lost or won.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's definitely worked in there.
So what's with the homeschooling? Was that a decision that you made, she made, or if I may ask, like, how come you're homeschooling? What is the rationale behind it?
Yeah, she's been asking that for a long time, and I just wasn't sure of it because I didn't know that I could dedicate enough time to it, or she was independent enough at the time to do it. But everything started to come together. She was dealing with some issues with the kids at school, and all the kids bring their family problems to the school. And then we would like to travel a lot, and my daughter's, she gets good grades, so there's no problem there. She's learning and well ahead of herself, or well ahead of where she needs to be. And we would catch a bunch of shit from the school about missing days and her attendance record and all this. And I was just like, you know what? I don't like, Kat, as you get to know me and as your listeners get to know who I am, I don't like to be a puppet. I don't like people having strings on me. I don't like to be controlled to the degree that is beyond what I want to be controlled with. So I was just like, you know what? I'm not going to send my daughter to a place which seems to be more of a low security prison. And I don't want her, being in a place where, some people would say, well, she's going to get the skills to deal with difficulties and make her harder. I don't want my daughter to be harder.
Right.
I want my daughter to be more caring, more loving, more compassionate, and then also not be held back from learning the things that she's passionate about and wants to learn about. Like, for example, she came home. We got her on a program where she's doing the things at her level where she needs to be and not being held back by the other kids that are, at the level they are. But also she gets to work on things that she's passionate about. Like, for example, she loves to crochet. She loves to do crafts. She loves to, bake. She likes to play golf. She likes to do these different things, go out and explore the world. And I didn't want her limited to that. So I was like, you know what? I want to be able to be more free. I want her to be more free. And I want the things that she's learning to be practical things that she's going to be using and not useless. Because to me, if you're learning something that's useless, then you're wasting time. And I wasn't cool with that. So my wife and I came to the decision, along with my daughter, to do the homeschooling up until she gets to high school because she plays sports. And I want her to be able to play sports in the high school level. So we're going to get her as far as we can until ninth grade. And then she's going to go back into that world for ninth grade to play the sports.
Reading a lot of little socialists and Marxists. Oh, well, I guess if she goes to.
Yeah, I don't want my daughter. No. I was going to say I don't want my daughter exposed to that. I want to control the information that she receives so that I have a chance to talk about it with her. And I don't always have that access because when she was at school, a lot of times I'd say, hey, how was your day? Or, what'd you learn today? And it was like really short answers, nothing, or I don't remember, or she would just shut down. And that wasn't okay with me. So I was like, you know what? That's enough.
Right.
And then she still gets her socializing through the sports she does. And, she's around kids. And nowadays with technology, she could talk to her friends on video calls or what have you. So she has all that. And I also thought, Kat, honestly, like who better to learn from than me?
I mean, I'm not gonna say that you're not right and you're not wrong. I'm gonna I agree. I think that's spot on. You've been through some stuff. You look all you've achieved. Yeah, and you love her the most. So, and plus, do you remember anything from fourth grade? None of that crap. I don't remember nothing. None of that. I don't remember learning anything.
Well, I mean, I do remember some of it, and I do think that there's some. I think some of the math, you got to learn, and you don't use the math necessarily now, but you do use the problem solving skills that you developed, trying to figure out complicated equations and things like that. But what they don't do in school is they don't do a good job teaching you how to learn. I think the most important thing and what makes up an intelligent person is what makes an intelligent person is being able to find the information you need. Right? Yeah. It's not about having all the information in your head. That takes up too much space. Yeah. But being able to find the information that you need when you need it is the most important skill that people need to learn, and they don't teach that in school.
Oh, of course not. Pretty sure that's intentional. Yeah, that's I'm with you on that. I don't think I don't see the point of a lot of that stuff. But you know, there are actually some schools that have you can take, I don't know which countries, but you can take your child to a specific school and you can tell them what the child wants to learn. So the child gets to decide whatever the things, you know, that they're interested in. So not the school, not some stranger that is, you know, that wants to be a teacher. So the child has the say, which I'm like, okay, I think I can agree with this one.
Yeah, and I don't think all parents have the opportunity that I do have to homeschool my daughter. So they have to, you know, it's better than just keeping the kids at home and being neglected. But if you have a choice, you know, to me, it's like it's blasphemous to not take advantage of what you've been blessed and given. And so I just had to make that decision, and I feel good about it.
That's good, and I'm sure she's gonna have a very successful career. She's gonna be solid. I have a feeling. We do have a
Oh,
little
without a
like
doubt,
2 seconds. I think we have a little bit like a 2 seconds delay in sound though. You notice that too?
Yeah, I'm working through it though. We're good.
Yeah, we're like, we know it. I'm like, man, I can't. But yeah. So what are your thoughts, Mike? This is kind of like a weird question, but it just hit me. What are your thoughts on where America is going?
Well, I mean, my thoughts. Yeah, my thoughts are, again, I don't stress too much about it because I believe in God and I believe God has a plan, and I'm just a part of that plan, and I just move accordingly, and I just follow what you know, what I've been given, and I just concern myself with that, and I just let other people be stressed out about all the other stuff, and I just know that everything will work out. Everything always works out for me. That's the way I always say it. And so with this world, obviously, there's always going to be turmoil. There's going to be chaos and confusion. That's going to be intentionally set because those in power are too insecure to let other people thrive, and they don't really have the care, of the people in mind. They really just want to maintain power. And so when you have that, and you have a conflict of interest in when money's involved too, you're going to see these things. So all the stuff that's happening is to be expected. But there is one person in power that cannot be beaten, and that's God. And so I know that. I have faith in that, and it's an unwavering faith. So I don't worry much.
That's amazing. That's like the best answer I've heard so far on that question. Because a lot of people are like, man, it's World War
Thank you.
III is coming. I'm like, okay. And you know, I'm a huge patriot, American.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I know you are, and you should be, and I am as well. But at the end of the day, like, I'm not going to contribute and feed the fuel that message, because I think that that's the problem. I mean, I think that we really don't understand the power that we have. The universe actually listens too much to us, like to the extent where it's like anything you say is going to shape the future. So if we really start to understand the power that we have, then people would, if they really truly believed and knew the power that we have, each individual, they would be very careful what they say, be very careful what they think, and they'd be very careful about the people that they surround themselves with. And so, but there's just an underestimation of power that we actually have. And that's the problem. That's where it comes. And people feel helpless. They feel like victims. They feel like they're controlled by other people. But at the end of the day, through the pandemic, for example, like, I lived my life. Yeah, they said to wear a mask. So if I needed to wear a mask to go somewhere, if I really wanted to go somewhere, I just wore the damn mask to get to where I need to go. And then I would take it down to breathe a little bit, whatever. But at the end of the day, I didn't want to cause more problems for myself than I needed to, because I thought that would be stupid. Like, some people would get on a plane and say, I'm not wearing a mask. F you, I'm not wearing a mask. Right. And to the extent that they would cause more problems for themselves. So you have to see, look, I look at things not from my point of view right here. I try to take what I would call a pan view of the environment. And then I figure out from there, like, imagine if you were playing a chess game and you're playing chess, but you're not sitting there from your side of the board. You're looking at it from above and seeing everything that's going on. And you can actually, like, know the thoughts of your opponent. And then you make the best determination on what thoughts, words, actions you should take and the people you should surround yourself with based on all the information and data that you can gather, rather than just being your self view, right? So that's a different perspective. So, a lot of people like want to be hard-headed and prideful and be right, where I want to be successful. I want to optimize the situation. And so I don't try to just, my way is the only way. I want to look at the whole picture and then make a determination from there, make my decisions based on that.
You know what I would have pictured you? I would have pictured you as the guy that goes on the plane with peanuts and just eating one by one, just so you wouldn't have to put the mask on. You know how you could eat without actually wearing the mask?
Oh, I've definitely done that. I definitely had a straw. Yeah, I definitely had a straw in my mouth a lot of times.
Yeah, I pictured you were one of those. Just because, yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I think that's very well put. You just want to get by, you want to see the bigger picture. The thing is, who said that when you look at your life, when you look at the picture closely, it's a tragedy, but when you look from afar, it's a comedy. So take yourself outside of your life and your
comedy, and also, yeah, you can look at it as a comedy, but you can also look at it as you're the hero in the story and how you've overcome everything you've gotten to, went through this far.
Right. It's so true. Like I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, grew up in a communist freaking country. Like I know all about communism, moved in all these different places, all these different countries to become this patriot American, to serve the country, to do all these things. And I'm like, why the hell would I ever have a bad day? This is like, I don't like, if I ever told anybody about my life, they would look at me like, dang. So just be grateful. Look back and see all of you've done and just be grateful.
Yeah, a lot of people pray to God when they're going through tough times and bad things are happening, where what appears to be bad is happening. But very few people go to God when things are starting to work out for them, or they're in a better situation than they were in. So I take a lot of pride in the fact that, like, while I'm going through the good things, or comparatively speaking, I'm living a life right now where it's like I'm strong, I'm wise, I got all these things going for me, and I really take a lot of time to express gratitude for that to God, because I think that God will reward you more when you're grateful for the things that you have versus complaining about the things that you're dealing with or that you don't have, or so-and-so's doing better than me or whatever it is. So God is, to me, and I don't stop talking about this. God to me is there for me when I'm going through the things that seem to be tough, but also when I'm winning. And that to me, I go to him for both times and be grateful no matter what the situation is.
Yeah. So you never really lose. You either learn or you win, but it's a win-win, because learning it's amazing. That's what builds, strength and growth and all that great stuff. Yeah, I agree. What about your beautiful wife is a real estate agent, right?
Yes.
A realtor or a broker?
She's an agent. She's a realtor. She works for a good buddy of mine who has a brokerage here in town, and she's learning as she goes, getting better and better. And one day she may have her own brokerage. It just depends on where she wants to take it.
Right.
But I support her no matter what, and help her, and guide her, and yeah, it's just wherever she wants to go with it. I mean, I want to encourage her to chase her passions. Yeah, she does well. She does a good job, but she also does a good job with. Yeah, she does a good job with that, and as well as being a great wife and mother. I've been married 21 years. We have 2 healthy kids, 17 and 11. And she does a great job putting it all together and doing all of it, and being a super lady. So,
it's amazing.
Yeah. And then when the kids go off and they're not, her attention's not needed there, then she can do whatever she wants. I remind my wife and my kids that, you can do whatever you choose to do. Whatever you want to do, you can do. You have to understand that you have the ability to do it. But you got to be willing to give up what it takes to do it. And you got to be willing to do the work that takes to do it as well. So whatever her heart desires, she's got it. But right now she's doing a great job, with all the responsibilities that she has on her plate.
That's awesome. And if I ever need a house over there in Maryland, I'm gonna definitely contact her. How is it 21 years? How do you like that's impressive. How can people like what's the secret to that? That's a long time to be married. That's amazing.
Well, the secrets to it are the things I've talked about in this podcast really is taking, the responsibility and starting with yourself and figuring out ways that you can contribute to the relationship versus complaining about what the other person's shortcomings or weaknesses are, or the things that annoy you, or nitpicking at things. At the end of the day, it's like, what am I bringing to this situation? Good and bad. What am I bringing? And then being in control of that and taking ownership of it. And, the other thing is that I'm more concerned with being successful than being right. So many people want to be right in an argument and win an argument. And what does that really do? Do you really win? I'd rather be successful, be happy and joyful, so that's what wins it for me.
That's what about like from your experience, which obviously you have a lot of, what are the most common underlying issues that lead to conflict in marriages, and like how can couples navigate these challenges constructively?
Yeah, I mean, again, they want to be right. Everybody wants to be right, and everybody wants to pick apart other people and focus on other people's weaknesses and what they're not doing right. And I think if we just take the focus off of the other person and we focus on ourselves first, and then we also take that pan view, the view from above, and really look at that view from there and say, okay, what's the best way to act? What's the best way to speak? How should I be treating my partner? And also, like, most people aren't taking care of themselves. You got to take care of yourself. You got to work on yourself. You got to become a better person. One of the things that changed things for me was, at first when I was younger and dating, I was very insecure. I was always concerned with like, oh, well, what if she sees another guy and talks to another guy and this and that. And what everything changed for me was, what? I was like, let me turn myself into the best prize possible. Take care of my health, my physical, my mental, my spiritual, get my money right, and make myself a prize so that if God forbid something does happen to my wife, everything's going to be fine because I've worked on myself. So that confidence comes into play, and the insecurities start to go away. And then when that happens, then everything gets better. And so for me, we have a great marriage because of that, and I'm still working on it. I'm never going to stop learning. I'm never going to stop working on myself, and I'm always going to be there for my wife to support her. So, I think that's where people fall short. They're worried about fixing other people and they don't even try to fix themselves.
Actually, I have a lot of friends that are, which is so sad. I don't know. And I'm kind of like, why am I attracting these people in my life? Going through some difficult times with, their loved one. And so I'm always kind of like pro marriage, like stay together, girl, you can do this, you got this. But it's just like, they're always focused on, oh, so-and-so's got, the grass is greener concept in other places. And I'm always like, just if you only focus all that energy watering your own freaking grass, like, come on, there's no better person out there. Like, if you work on yourself, just like you said. So that's, I agree. That's a good one. What about like, how do you address?
Yeah. By the way, Kat, I got to tell you, Kat. So I got to tell you this. So there's been times in my life where we've had people in our environment that were going through trouble, and you have to decide to like, do I want to be there to support them at the expense of my own family, at the expense of my own relationship? Do I want to have that energy and that toxicity enter into my domain, so to speak? Right. And there's been times where we had to make that decision. Like, look, we love to support you, but if you're not going to work on yourself and you're going to do the things that are going to go counteractive to being successful in your relationship, we can't be around you. And so many people are so afraid to cut people out of their life because it's just not something that I'm willing to do. I don't want to sacrifice my family for someone else that's having problems that haven't figured things out yet. I'd love to help people, but that that energy is not going to come into my household.
Yeah, if they don't listen, if they don't take the advice, if it's just a never-ending toxicity. Yeah, I get it. I agree. Yeah. It's like, okay, even like God gave us the length of the arms. You see, we're not just like, because there's got to be space for respect. There's got to be that space for, okay, enough is enough, you know? So, yeah. How do you address like differences in parenting styles within a marriage? Like in your marriage, what advice do you have for couples struggling to find common ground? Like if they're not really on the same page, maybe with schooling or stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about compromise. I mean, the discussion should happen without the kids around, and there should be emotions that are kept to the side, and just discuss something that you can come to common ground on. And then there's going to be times where one side has to compromise and give in on something that's important to the other. You know, so again, it goes back to everybody wanting to be right, and their way is the only way, and it's just, you know, there's going to be some non-negotiables and core principles that have to be abide by, but at the end of the day, that should be established prior to having kids.
Yes, have that talk, that heavy talk. I agree. You know, there are actually, I remember back.
Yeah, I mean, look, everybody wants to have sex, right?
Right.
Everybody wants to have sex, but they don't want to take the responsibility after that, right? Like, you know, like at the end of the day, what happens? Like, what's the purpose of sex? It's to get connection with your partner and then also reproduce. And that's part of it. And guess what? You may not be just, you know, the pleasure might not just be the only thing that happens from that experience. It might be something that comes along with that takes a lot of responsibility. And so there's so many people that lack responsibility.
True.
And so, you know, if you're gonna do that, you need to make sure you understand that the responsibility is going to be there. And then when that responsibility comes, you got to take that by the horns and be able to talk to that partner and communicate with that partner about the responsibility that you two together made, you know? And so again, I don't know. I'm not trying to, you know, I'm not trying to tell people what to do, but I just try to be the example that I see that works, you know?
Yeah, 21 years of marriage. That's a great example right there. That is in this day and age. Shoot. What do you think? Like, what role does communication play in the health of a marriage? Do you think?
Communication is the cause of all problems and the solution to all problems. Very simply said. So if you don't know how to communicate, you better figure it out. You better work on it, practice it, study it, because the better you can communicate, the better marriage you'll have. The less problems you'll have, the less conflicts you'll have, the more love you'll have, the more success you'll have. So communication is imperative. It is imperative because it's tied. Communication's tied to two things: agreement and also love. So as you have better communication, your agreement with your partner will rise and the love that you have for each other will rise. But if you have low communication, and the lower the communication goes, the lower the love, the lower the agreement. It's like a triangle.
Right. What's your Mike? One more question. What's your deepest fear?
Really, let's see. Deepest fear. Um, I honestly don't have one. I'm just built and prepared for anything that comes my way. And I know some things will be more difficult than others. I'm prepared for the emotions that come along with those things. I'm prepared for the struggles. Um, so like fear to me, I really don't have a fear anymore because, you know, I think people are fearful to the degree that they're not willing to confront something. And so my confrontation ability and willingness to confront alleviates any fear that I have. So I've really worked on myself to be able to be willing to confront things. And the more you're willing to confront things, the fear dissipates. So I honestly don't have fear because here's the other thing that I have. I have a savior that I'm confident that is going to address anything that comes my way and allow me to handle anything that comes my way. And then if it's my time to go, it's my time to go. And I know where I'm going after this.
How are you so certain where you're going after this? You
Again,
made no, you
I've
made no
seen too
sense.
much from faith. No. It's not about that. It's that, you know, in studying the Bible and praying and meditating and observing things that have gone on in my life, I just start to realize that I've been obviously I'm a sinner. I've done things that I shouldn't have done in my past and still mess up to this day. But at the end of the day, I get right with God through prayer and through repentance. And I just know that if that's the case and I've accepted Jesus, I'm solid. I'm taken care of. I'm saved. And that's there's no doubt in my mind about that.
I love it. Yeah. The repentance word right there. I'm big on that. I'm like, man, I have to like trying to get myself back on track with God. I feel like I can do a lot better. Um, so yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, Kat, I just want to say this. I don't want to preach to people. Preaching to people to me does not work. I want to be a living example. So what I focus on every day is how can I be a living example of what works? And then if somebody wants to ask me about it and say, there's something different about you, I feel an energy from you when I'm around you, there's something different. What is that? And I can explain it to them at that time, but I don't want to preach to people. It's just not what I want to do. I don't believe that's effective. And so I would allow people to come to me, but I want to first live the example of it. And by means of my, no way perfect. I mess up. I still to this day a lot less than I used to. But my goal and intention is to be a living example of what works, to live the fullest life. And that's what I do. And so if somebody wants to know more information and want to ask me about it or come to me or ask questions or whatever, I'm open to that, but I'm not going to preach to people.
Yeah, I don't think you were actually preachy at all. I think that was just, an honest answer. And this is how you feel. And that's an amazing way to, that's an amazing way to think about life, because people that have God have something powerful that faithless people don't have. And especially after what you've gone through, you've proven that that's actually a fact. You've gone through all that stuff, and now you're still standing still, stronger than ever. So, and I even I don't know if I told you, if in November when we met, I don't know. I don't think we actually exchanged any words at the conference. Did we talk at the conference?
I've met so many people. I mean, I met you at some point, but I don't know whether it was virtually or in person. I'm not sure.
I was actually, Mike, and this is like something very personal, and I'm going to share it with you. I was depressed. That was November. I've never, ever in my whole life understood what it is to be depressed. I've had 3 friends that killed themselves due to depression. I never could relate. I could never understand, like, what the hell does that even mean? Is it a demon? So I never understood that up until November of last year. And I was depressed for 2 weeks, and it's a horrible place to be in. And that conference happened during one of those 2 weeks. And I was super weird. Like, I didn't talk to anybody during the conference, just very negative. It was just a bad place to be. And I started praying, like, really I think it's the lack of prayer is what weakened, that shield, that protective shield. And then I just got myself, got back on track. And I was like, man, whew, you lack prayer. This is not good.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you get some armor when you pray.
Yeah.
But it's up to us. We've been given the opportunity to have control over that. And if you choose not to, you choose not to. But I know a lot of people that have gone through that, and none of them had faith. Their faith was weak. Their belief was weak. Their practices were weak. And I don't want to be in that condition. So I make decisions based on that and what leads you into the right space.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you're basically obsessing over a problem that is out of your hands, and you're stuck in this dark room, metaphorically speaking, and you're just continually like obsessing over something, and it is a horrible, like, now that I've been there, and I've actually self-diagnosed as that being depression. I didn't go to any doctors. I don't do that. I don't go to doctors that easily. But I was like, man, it's now I'm like, I think people that feel that have depression and they're in that mind state, they need prayer. That is what brought me back to normal. So I'm highly, and it's not about being preachy or anything. This is what helped me. Just wanted to share that with the world. Yeah,
I would have never guessed that, but
yeah.
you don't never know. You never know what people are going through, and I'm glad that you have gotten out of that, and just remember it. Just don't forget it.
No, yeah. But I was like, I'm gonna share with him because he can relate. You have that sensitive core, then you have that love for God, and you understand, you can understand what I'm saying. And that's, yeah, definitely only God can take you out of that. What about happiness? What is happiness to you, Mike?
100%. 100. I don't know. Let's see. I mean, happiness is knowing that I'm fulfilling my obligation. I feel like when I say, let me see how far I can take this thing, as long as I'm on that mission and aligned, I feel happy. So happiness to me is making progress towards the mission.
Yeah, it's interesting, but I know a lot of people, they delay happiness in the pursuit of happiness. Like, I don't know if you know about the Mexican fisherman parable. You probably know it because it's all over the social media. Oh, you don't?
I'm not
So
sure.
basically, this fisherman, this Mexican fisherman, he's getting his little fish, and then there's the American businessman that comes, sits next to him, and says, "Hey, why don't you just why don't you hire some people and get more fish, and then make this, I guess, sell it to America, branch out, do all this big stuff." And then the fisherman says, "And then what?" "Well, then you have a lot of money, and then you can actually uh, get even bigger, a bigger company, and then grow. And then what? And then once you do all this, then you can actually uh, have the time to sit here and fish and relax." And he's like, "But I'm already doing that." So, it's like, why don't you just try to be
Yeah,
happy
yeah.
right now? What about you being happy right now? Because you got
Right.
everything you need to be happy right now.
Yep. Yep. Love that story. I love that story.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What do you want to? You want to be freed up to do what you want? Well, I'm doing what I want right now. Yeah, I love it.
I mean, it's other people said it eloquently. They said it way better. I just kind of rushed through, but just to give you a quick picture. But yeah, we're kind of like, we're always in the pursuit of like this bigger top of the mountain, this bigger, but it's this peak, it's always that, like, but then once you get there, there's going to be another peak. But then, it's like, how about you just enjoy the journey and just tell yourself, I got this. Like, I'm already happy.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you have what you need to survive, food, air, water, and shelter. I mean, I always say to myself, like, what's the worst thing that can happen?
Right.
And there's a movie called Cocktail with Tom Cruise, and he went to the Caribbean and started bartending, right? And I'm like, well, what's the worst case scenario? I have to go to the Caribbean island somewhere and bartend.
Right.
And that's what I do. I mean, that's the worst case scenario. I'm good with it. I'm going to go for whatever, you know?
Yeah, and you got the hot wife, and you have kids too, and they're healthy, and everybody's healthy. Like, come on. Yeah, that is, yeah, it's crazy how, a lot of the people that just kind of, I woke up one morning and I had this apple, and I was looking at the apple, and I'm like, a lot of people don't have anything to eat. I'm looking at this apple. I have teeth I can chew this apple with. And then it just kind of, I was starting to see more and more reasons to be happy and grateful for. And I'm like, wow, this is what happiness is. It's all here.
Yeah, starts with gratitude for sure, for what you have. No doubt about it.
Yeah. Mike, I think I'm very grateful for your time, but it's over an hour. This is amazing. But I know you got kids and it's late for you. So I'm like, thank you so much. Although this is probably like, I came in so hot. I had no questions prepared. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm glad this is Mike, because you're such a professional and you helped me out and you made it so much easier.
That was all good. You did a great job.
Oh,
You did a
thank
great
you.
job. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you, Mike. I'll talk to you soon and looking forward to seeing you in November. And hopefully you bring your wife too.
All right. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, bring her. That'd be
Thanks.
nice to meet her too.
All right.